Hi everyone, it's James here from Pro Tools Expert. Now there are three main ways in which we come up with content for you on the site. The first one is the magical gear stalks leave cardboard boxes on our doorstep with lovely toys for us to review for you. The second one is it might be something we're vaguely interested in. And the third one is it's a great way to start a conversation. This, I have to admit, has nothing to do with gear stalks, but it is something that I'm interested in, and it will definitely spark a conversation. So there's a new kid in the Pro Tools Expert town. His name's Greg Worth, and you really should check out his video content, which is new to the platform. The first one I checked out was one where Greg uses two neat pieces of software, Drummer-Tom and the amazing Auto-Align by SoundRadix, to prepare his drum parts before he starts applying EQ and compression. So, what have we got in front of us here? Now, this is a kind of almost a follow-on from that. So, in Greg's video, he talks about the amazing Auto-Align and how he uses it. And if you haven't used Auto-Align, what it allows you to do is effectively get all your drums in phase by having one mic as, should we call it the focus mic, and having everything else automatically line up and auto-align, you see where they got the name, themselves in phase, so your drums just sound bigger and more open and more real. Everything's in perfect phase alignment, and we know how important that is. But there is a certain amount of debate on which drum you use for the phase alignment or the focus process. So I thought, little grey cells ticking as they would, that I would build a session with three identical drum tracks. So we've got kick through to overheads once in sort of purple, kick through to overheads in red, and kick through to overheads in kind of aqua. And then I've got three master buses. Now, take my word for it, all three of these are absolutely identical. All the levels are the same, panning's the same, no extra effects, no plugins, no nothing. They all perfectly null out as well. So when I use the trim plugin that I've put on the bus masters for the kick focus, snare focus, and overhead hat focus, a lot of people call it overhead left. I use overhead hat because the hat side of the drum kit doesn't matter whether you're looking at it from the front or the back. You know exactly which way it is. Left and right could be misconstrued whether you're at the front of the kit or playing the kit. Neat trick I picked up from Steve Jenowick there. And these null out absolutely perfectly. Now, what I've done to save us some time is I've gone through each of the parts, and they are all absolutely identical, and I've set Auto-Align up. Now for the first one, I'm using send number 1 within Auto-Align. I'm using both polarity and delay, and I've set each of the other mics in that kit to receive on channel 1, again for polarity and delay. Now with the red set of drums, I'm using the top snare as my focus. Send on channel 2, again polarity and delay, and all of these receive on channel 2. And for the last batch, we've used Greg's technique, which is using the overhead left-hand side, or the hat side, as the focus mic. Again, polarity and delay. And these are all receiving on channel 3 within Auto-Align. Now, there are two schools of thought here. The first one is that phase is phase, right? So, theoretically, these should all be exactly the same. There's another school of thought that goes, hang on, how can they be? Because all the distances where they're getting their phase relationship from are going to be different. Now, I'm not here to say which is best, which is right, or which is wrong. I know which I prefer, and I know which I'd probably prefer for different styles of music. So, let's actually get back and play some of these so you can hear how it's going. Let's start with the kick focus, purple. Then we'll go through and have a listen to the snare focus, which is red. And then we'll have a listen to the overhead hat focus. So here we go. Now, to my ears, they do all sound very, very, very slightly different. It's very subtle, but they do sound very slightly different. Now, where things get interesting is when we put two together and we see if they null. Which of course they don't. Let's put these two together. Very, very interesting. Actually, let's try the last combination because we can. Very, very interesting. Now, of course, we weren't expecting them to null out. If it had done, something would have been going very wrong somewhere in the system. However, which one do you prefer? I have to admit, I think for me it would be dependent on the style of music I was working on. For this particular track, I quite like the open sound that using the overhead hat focused mic gives. I think if I was doing more of a pop track where I want a tighter sound, I think I'd be very tempted to use the kick focus or snare focus. Now, again, speaking to Greg, he kind of explained it that he would always start with the overheads because he'll use the overheads to form his drum sound first and foremost. My theory on this was that I usually use the snare drum as my focus because to me it's probably the loudest instrument in the kit and probably the one that gets hit the most often. And certainly for the backbeat of a song in rock or pop, it's really, really important. So, hey, who knows what's right or wrong? I just thought it was quite an interesting test to do. Join the discussion below. I've been James from Pro Tools Expert, and I'll see you again soon for some more gear talk.